little known secrets of the Bible is that John and Jesus were at one time rivals. John was actually the big prophet, and that Jesus was kind of the upstart.
Many Jews thought that John the Baptist was himself the Messiah. In fact, many of John's disciples thought of their master as superior to Jesus. After all, as they argued, who baptized whom?
I really don't like how the History Channel makes this whole point about how there was some secret rivalry between Jesus and John. Now, if you read in John chapter 3, it does talk about how John the Baptist's disciples were coming to John and saying that Jesus is baptizing as well. So let's just go to that part first and see what John the Baptist has to say about Jesus, and if there really was a rivalry between the two. It says, "After this, Jesus and his disciples went into the Judean countryside, and he remained there with them and was baptizing. John also was baptizing at Aenon near Salem, because water was plentiful there, and people were coming and being baptized, for John had not yet been put in prison. Now, a discussion arose between some of John's disciples and a Jew over purification, and they came to John and said to him,
'Teacher, do you remember the man who was with you on the east side of Jordan? The one you spoke about? Well, he is baptizing now, and everyone's going to him.'
John answered,
'No one can have anything unless God gives it. You yourselves are my witnesses that I said, I am not the Messiah, but I've been sent ahead of him. The bridegroom is the one to whom the bride belongs, but the bridegroom's friend, who stands by and listens, is glad when he hears the bridegroom's voice.
Therefore, this joy of mine is now complete. He must increase, but I must decrease.'"
As far as the occupying Romans and the Hebrew elite were concerned, John the Baptist was not only popular, he was dangerous. Life under Roman occupation was hard, and the conditions were often brutal.
The Jews didn't like being a conquered people. No one does.
The Roman occupation of Jerusalem created a profound sense of trauma among the Jews. This created a sense of apocalyptic yearning among the Jews. There was a feeling that God was going to free the Jews from the yoke of occupation.
So the History Channel's making it sound like John the Baptist is some sort of danger to the Romans, but let's take a look at the Word of God and see why exactly John the Baptist was arrested. In Matthew chapter 14 it says, "At that time Herod the Tetrarch heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his servants, 'This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him.' For Herod had seized John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had been saying to him, 'It is not lawful for you to have her.' And though he wanted to put him to death, he feared the people because they held him to be a prophet." Matthew 14, 1 through 5.
Fearing riots from his growing crowds of followers, the Romans had John the Baptist arrested, sent to prison, and eventually beheaded.
Are y'all noticing a pattern here? As you can see, the History Channel just clearly done blows everything out of context and proportion. And now they're saying that the Romans arrested and beheaded John the Baptist. Now let's go back to Matthew chapter 14 and finish this story. Continuing on in Matthew, it says, "But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company and pleased Herod, so that he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, 'Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter.' And the king was sorry. But because of his oaths and his guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl. And she brought it to her mother, and his disciples came and took the body and buried it, and they went and told Jesus." Matthew 14, 6 through 12. Now, as we can see clearly, it wasn't the Romans that beheaded John, and it was all because of a woman that John's head was cut. Adam hearkened unto the voice of his wife. Abraham hearkened unto the voice of his wife. Herod hearkened unto the voice of his wife. Quite a pattern that we've got going on here, right? Happy wife, happy life. I'd rather be happy than right. Wake up, world. Wake up, you simps. Stop hearkening unto the voice of your wives. The autistic Christian out.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told us.